Welcome in to the OKS Youth Ministry Podcast, where three of the OKS Youth Ministers talk about youth ministry. I'm Michael Deese, and I am joined by Hunter Puckett and Jeremy Crow in a remote location, and we have another special guest, and his name is...
Eli
Cobb. There we go. The Faulkner University legend, right? You're a legend.
The
now,
legend.
right?
Very incorrect, but
Very incorrect.
Yes.
I thought you were legendary.
there are
dude.
far more.
Do not listen. No. Do not listen. He's killing it at Faulkner.
Yeah, he is.
He's killing
Look
it.
at him over there with his backward hat, Spider-Man hoodie. He's killing it.
Well, I'm following up Kyle, but so
Yeah, good
That's
luck.
true.
let's put it in
Yeah.
perspective here.
Kyle is awesome. That was a great show.
Yeah, really
had a lot of
enjoyed that.
fun.
And
Jeremy's
back.
Yeah, Jeremy's back. How's it going, Jeremy?
I'm good. I'm just sitting in the hospital room
Yeah.
with my wife, who has had some issues, had a little medical issue, and so she's getting checked up on and treated. And so I'm just hanging out here. So
Cool.
I will be sparse in my conversation, but I'm going to jump in when I can.
Well, I am very thankful that you're able to do this. And, of course, prayers for your wife and all that, and positive vibes, as they say in the secular community.
Yeah.
Well,
They don't say that. They don't say that.
I do. I say that when I'm in a secular community. So we are going to be discussing internships today, and how internships work, and some of the good things that we've had from them, some of the mistakes that we've made. And we have Eli on here because he will be the intern for the Madison Church of Christ in Madison, Alabama this summer. Where did you work last summer?
I worked at Chapel Hill Church of Christ in Chapel Hill, Tennessee, with
Cool.
Skylar Sexton. Shout out to my guy.
Dude, Skylar Sexton's the man.
He's awesome.
Which that is right outside of where Revival was, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
He was actually there. He's one of the guys that kind of organized.
Yeah, I talked to him for a little bit at Revival. I figured that they were close in proximity.
Yeah. I actually knew his wife for a long time before I knew him. So
Is he a Freed guy?
I don't think, is he a Freed guy?
Yeah, he went to Freed.
Okay. Well, his wife, I knew her, and I know him too, but for whatever reason, I just knew her a lot better, and we were friends and stuff while we were at Freed.
Yeah, she grew up going to Madison. Her and Jason Helton's wife are sisters.
I knew that. Yeah, I knew that.
Man, shout out to Jason, too.
Yeah, he's the man.
He's awesome. Well, more importantly, you're our first guest that's actually in the room with us.
Oh,
And it's
That's
different.
true.
And he might also be our first... No, we can't sit. Never mind. No.
he's
that
the
wouldn't be
first
it.
college kid.
Yeah, he's
with
our
us.
first college kid. I would say he's our first guest that's not a Freed Hardman, alum or something. But I'm sure we've had some.
In the room where it happened.
Room where it happened. Sorry, copyright.
Yeah, I knew it would start it.
We don't need to do that.
So let's talk about internships, though.
Not more than 10 seconds.
Yeah, we can't do it more than 10 seconds. Internships. So, Jeremy, tell me the process that you go through when you are hiring an internship. And if at any point you need to take a break, you just say, Michael, finish this out.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
So of course, I start by trying to reach out to locations that might have prospective, hires, universities, et cetera. Some of that is Christian universities. Some of that is state schools, and I've really kind of had interns from both. We at times have had really good interviews through both. This last year we had 4 interns, and one of those was state school. 3 of those were from Christian affiliate schools. But we start by, just essentially putting the listing out there, letting people know that we're looking, that we're hiring, and then taking, applicants for interviews. Most of the time, those end up being like Zoom interviews or FaceTime or whatever, or Skype. For those of you that are old, I've done many Skype
Hey,
interviews.
did you know that Skype is actually no longer in existence? They banned. They're done. It's over.
Well, that's because Zoom probably put them out.
They're hanging out with
But
MySpace.
I do love to say, like, hey, do you want to do like a Skype interview just to see the reaction from 20-year-olds? But they will, call in. They'll do something like that. Or my favorite is I like to go in person to universities and sit and talk with people face to face. It just doesn't always work that way, in terms of scheduling. And then what I typically do is, I interview them either on the phone first, and then I try to line up my youth deacons to get on like a Zoom call with me, and they can meet this guy and girl, whoever we're hiring, and interview them. And then I follow up by having either one of my students personally call them. If it's somebody that we connected with well and I think, hey, could be a good candidate, then I'll have one of my student leaders call them, or I'll have another Zoom interview set up with like 3 or 4 of my students who are, leading in our youth group, do a Zoom, and where I let them kind of ask whatever they want. And it's really more than anything, that follow-up session is to kind of figure out, would this person G-haul well with our group, right? Do they work well relationally with our team?
Yeah, G-hauling is very important. And Jeremy, I will give you this, and I think you do a really good job on not choosing just one school to get interns from, but kind of branching out really well as going on with that. And also, I think we've mentioned in a previous podcast, we really got to know Stephen and CRC at Revival, Crawley's Ridge College. And I think one of your interns this year. Yeah, and I think one of your interns this summer is coming from CRC.
Yeah, no pressure, Noah, but if you blow it, we're never looking at CRC again. No, just kidding.
Well, I'll tell you, my process.
It is hard.
My process when I was in Arkansas, we got a guy and a girl intern every year. And I'm just going to tell you, the sooner that you can start looking for interns, the better. I would start looking in September.
That is true.
And in September, I'm sending stuff out to all the schools, having emails sent out, and doing everything that I can to get the word out as quickly as possible. And by the end of October, I would have my 2 interns hired. I think there was 1 year, and it was the year that COVID was happening and stuff, that it was until like right at the end of December. I mean, not December, but November before I had my interns hired. But outside of that, man, it's always like September, and then by the end of October, I've got my guys lined up. And shout out to Kay Pack, who is the secretary of the Bible department at Freed-Hardeman. Super easy to work with, very, very thorough. And she sets up those interviews with me and the students and stuff from Freed-Hardeman, and does a great job with it. And it works out really well. And I just drive up, do an interview, all those interviews that day, take some kids out to eat, and then we come home. And it's just a very easy, simple process.
Michael, let me throw something in with what you just said. One thing that's important, and it may be that you're looking specifically for a Bible major person. It may be, for a teen ministry role, they may specifically want that. But we hire 2 children's ministry and 2 youth ministry interns. And one of the things that, when we contact KPAC or anybody else from these universities, is that we also say, hey, this position is not just for a Bible major, right? If it's an elementary education major, they might be a fantastic children's intern.
Yes.
And so we kind of say, hey, we're open to that, or we're open to business majors or whatever. Because if you don't, then Kay or whoever is doing that might only send it out to specific set majors, because they assume that might be what you're looking for.
Right.
And you might find you get a really good intern that may have no intention of going into full-time ministry, but can be a fantastic influence for your students.
Yeah, and you have to always, we're trying to train up ministers and stuff with these internships, but you also have to just take into account that these people, the only people that do ministry are not ministers in the church. They're people who are just your normal, everyday members who come and serve and do things, and blessing people and training people in how to do ministry who have no intention to be a minister is still benefiting the church in a huge way.
Well, the church needs teachers, it needs elders, it needs deacons.
Yeah.
So kind of going off of that, I'm kind of turning it over to Eli. Eli, what are you looking for, or what are your goals going into an interview process when it comes to being a summer intern with somebody? How did that process go last year? How did it go with Madison for this summer?
For the interview process, specifically, I'm trying to get to know the people who I would be working with, I guess, and kind of show them who I am. That's kind of the goal of the interview, is for them to see who I am. And if they are looking for something else, of course, like they're looking for whatever is going to fit their position the best. And that's what I'm trying to accomplish, is just showing them genuinely who I am, what I'm about, what I'm looking to find, and seeing if that lines up with what they're looking for. So.
Yeah, well, and those summer internships are scary. It's 10 weeks with a church that most likely you have no idea who they are, and you're going in and you're seeing if they're a good fit, or if you're a good fit for them, but you're also seeing if they're a good fit for you. seeing if you would work well with them, if you would enjoy that church for that 10-week summer. I mean, you're away from your family, you're away from friends, you're away from everybody, and you're just working with this church, making sure that they really enjoy Jeremy Crow to be able to spend 10 weeks with Jeremy.
Oh yeah.
Of course, now that's easy. I'm going to say that, but just making sure that whoever is being interviewed also likes the church that they're interviewing with.
Right.
I've been very blessed. I've been at Flint for my entire ministry. And so I interviewed with 2 different churches one summer, and they're ironically right beside each other. But one church came with suit and tie, and the other church came with slacks and a polo. And I knew that I would fit in more with the slacks and polo than I knew I'd fit in with the coat and tie.
Right. And
well, let me say. Well, sorry.
Yeah. No, go ahead, Jeremy.
Sorry to do this from a different place. Eli said something really important there that we do want. People that are hiring interns or that are looking for internships. He said something really valuable is that not every job is going to be the right fit for you.
That's right.
And that's okay. Like, it doesn't mean that you're a terrible interview. It doesn't mean that you won't get a good internship or whatever. One of the things, like we offered one of our children's ministry internships positions this summer, we offered to someone who we thought was a great opportunity to hire. All right. We offered him the job. Well, he didn't take our job. He took a different job, and it's no hate towards him or whatever. It's just, he had another interview with a congregation who had essentially an agape counseling program, and he is looking to go into counseling post graduation. And so he was interested in working alongside that congregation because it had something that he's really, coordinating well with, right? And it wasn't that he didn't want to work with us or that we didn't think he was good. It's just there might have been a better opportunity for him elsewhere. And you have to go into these interviews not getting your feelings hurt when someone doesn't take it, right?
Right.
Or someone doesn't offer you the job.
Yeah, and you also have to just take into account. I've had times where I had 3 guys that I was like, all 3 of these guys are my favorite. They're on a level playing field, and I don't like any 3 of these better than the other 2. And
that's so hard too.
And there was one year I talked to the guy. It was actually shout out to Lucas Dial. I talked to him a few weeks ago about this, but I interviewed him, and I was like, this dude killed it. Great interview. Everything was really good. He's going to be the guy. And then I interviewed the next guy, and I was like, okay, that guy killed it. He's going to be the guy. And then the next guy came up, and I was like, that guy killed it. How am I going to pick between these 3? And I interviewed with several different people from our church, and all of them were like, we don't know who to go with. We don't know. And so there was one guy that I chose. Did
you end up hiring Lucas?
I ended up not hiring Lucas. But the reason
we are so sorry about that. Wow.
Hey, Lucas, he told me later that he definitely liked the other 2 guys better.
Yeah. Well, I knew.
Please still put our booth close to the front at M2Y, though.
I knew that. Yeah, that's right. That's right. I knew that, number one, that Lucas was going to get a job anywhere he wanted.
Yeah.
And because he was incredible. And then there was another guy who he said he already had an offer on the table. And then this other guy, I was the only person that he interviewed with. And so I was like, this other guy, he's probably not going to get another opportunity. The only reason he interviewed with me is because I had known him when he was a kid briefly for a couple months. And then I had never talked to him or seen him again. And that was the only reason why he even thought to come and interview. And so I was like, this guy's already got a job lined up. Lucas is going to work wherever he wants because he was, he's very much that kind of guy. And then there was this guy who probably wouldn't have had another opportunity to do it. And so I just went with him instead of somebody else, And it was an incredible summer, probably our best summer even, I would say. He was awesome. He did a great job. And if anybody I've recommended him to several different places since then. And he was awesome. But I've had some of the best interns ever. Patrick Franz was one of my interns for 2 years. He just started a new job.
Is it Cons?
109. He just started at 109. Yeah.
No, that's other friends.
Dude. Yeah, that's Christian.
Yeah,
Christian's
his brother over there.
But
Michael,
Patrick
I think you're
incredible.
old, man.
Yeah.
All your interns are now full-time guys.
I know, dude. It's weird.
Hey,
let me ask you this. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Hunter.
Let me ask you this, because for the listeners, I've never had an intern. And I've been learning a lot from Michael and Jeremy and just kind of discussing with them. How do you set up the summer to where it benefits the intern, but also doesn't slow you down, but to where you get to sit there and really mentor them while also keeping up with the youth group itself? What are some tips or ideas that y'all do?
So one of the things, my first summer was very much me just kind of like babysitting the interns because I didn't know what I was doing. And I was just like, today we're gonna just sit around and read the Bible. Like I don't know what to do with these guys. They're here for the summer and they're in my office and I don't know what to do with them. But so then I kind of started working on like an outline of things that I wanted to accomplish for the summer. And by the middle of the internship, the middle of the summer, I had kind of made this transition where I was actually coaching them and helping them in those extra time where we didn't just have a ton of stuff that we were doing or we were waiting for something to happen, and so anything that you can teach them in a basic conversation that are just practical aspects of youth ministry. Why do we do the Bible classes that we do? Why do we have a curriculum plan that we have? Why do we go to this camp instead of that camp? That kind of stuff is something very important. I also don't just focus on the summer with my interns. I talk to them about what we do in the fall, what we're going to do in the winter, what we're going to do in the spring. And I kind of walk through them because usually, like I said, I have them hired by October. And so I keep them, hey, we went to EYC. We did CYC. We went on a retreat this time. We did this other event, and then we've been doing these area-wide devotionals and stuff. And so if you can make it to any of those, that'd be great. Like even if you just come for an area-wide devo, meet the kids early, that would be awesome. Anything like that. And then after when they get here during the summer, walk them through your plans for the fall because chances are there's a kid that's going to be interning with us this summer, more than likely. He is going to be like starting full-time work at that very soon. And so that's kind of the stuff that we could teach them and educate them and help them with throughout that. But, there's so many huge things that you can show the people how to be better ministers, how to use their time wisely. I think that we owe them internships that are showing them what it's like to be a full-time minister. Yeah. So that there's like planned objectives and things that we need to make very clear before they leave.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the summer, I always evaluate what they liked about the internship, what they didn't like about it, their favorite aspects of our youth ministry, some extra events that they did in their youth ministry that they think would work at ours. And we kind of go through, we use a couple of days where we talk through all of that and discuss all of that with them. And but that's kind of the way that I do it.
Let me throw something in here. So I went to Harding's internship fair about, I guess, 2 months ago or so. And Justin Hammonds, I don't know if he listens or not, but if he does, hey, shout out, Justin.
What's up?
He's at Western Hills in Texas. He did a lesson during their intern fair and their youth ministry workshop thing about purposeful summer internships. And so he listed these 5 levels of exponential intern value. Like, here's the 5 things that he saw as super valuable. These are not my list. This is his. It's very smart. I'm not smart. Okay. But number 1, he said, it absolutely ministers to your student, obviously, right? Hiring an intern ministers to the heart of your student. It also ministers to your church, that your church as a whole grows from it. The third is that you prepare and equip an intern for the future, whether that be in ministry, whether it be in some other aspect of life. You're equipping them. It gives you, the youth minister, opportunity to learn and grow as a leader, how you guide and lead your interns. And the other thing, I really hadn't thought about it this way, which seems so simplistic, but he said one of the exponential intern values is for other churches where that intern will later serve in life. He said, in a way, interns are missionaries that you are training and sending out, right? Yeah. You, your church, are becoming an equipper of a missionary who will one day serve on mission somewhere else, whether they're hired full-time or they're a volunteer or they're a deacon one day or whatever. You're training someone, helping them become someone who can be a huge benefit to a future church where they attend.
Yeah. I think that's probably the most important thing is that idea of they're in a mission field and you're sending them out and you're training them and sending them out. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
So Eli, we just need to make you talk a lot. That's what I'm thinking here. I just want to hear you talking. When you are looking for a church, what are things that you're looking for like when you're interviewing that are just the things that kind of push you over the top, that, you've got 3 or 4 churches that offered you a job and you liked all 4 of them. What are the ones that you kind of narrow it down? What's the stuff you're looking for?
I think it depends on like what I'm going for. I tell everyone that I'm there at Faulkner with that you should have 3 summers. The first one is like an entry-level church. You just go be with them, see what they're like, gain whatever you can from them, of course. Like this is for youth ministry specifically, so a youth ministry internship.
Yeah.
And then go and get something that's not youth ministry your second or third summer. Go see a different side of ministry. Gain what you can from that side. I love what Jason Helton does at Madison with the
Minister of Media.
Yeah, the media minister.
Yeah. He's the mom.
I'm going to Madison and doing a preaching internship this summer with Brandon and Andrew. They're awesome. I'm really looking forward to it. But go and find something else other than youth ministry just to help shape out and round out some other levels, because you're at the bottom line, you're looking to be a minister.
Right.
And that encompasses a lot more than just like being the youth guy or the youth group guy.
That's absolutely true.
Talked to y'all about that some yesterday. And then that third summer, that's where you're going to look to maybe find something that could be more permanent in the future, and somewhere that you could hire on. So that's kind of what I look for in the background of internships. Other than that, like, I feel like we're not necessarily blind, but when you go to a guy you don't know of, like last year, I had no idea who Skylar was.
Yeah.
And that, like, he's an awesome youth minister. He does absolutely amazing. I didn't know that going into it. And so, like, there's kind of that aspect to it of you don't really know what you're getting, but thankfully I was very blessed to be with a really, really good guy.
Yeah.
So there's that. You really don't know what you're going into to a degree, but whatever you go into, you're going to make the best of it. And that's kind of the attitude you take in.
So let me ask you this. I kind of asked the other guys, how do they run that summer? What are you looking for when it comes to, what did you like when it comes to a summer of youth ministry internship?
The first thing that Jeremy said earlier was ministering to the student. I think that's a huge deal. Taking time throughout the week of just being with them, going into God's word, building them up. Yeah. That's a huge thing. And for me personally, I want to see what you do. Like, I know every ministry is different. Every youth minister is different, how they do it. But I'm going to be a collection of everything that I've picked up from other people. And I figure a lot of y'all are similar. Y'all hear other people do cool stuff and you're like, oh, that's cool. I'm going to try that. And it works out. And so I want to see how you make Bible class. I want to see how you prepare for a retreat. I want to walk through you. If someone comes to you and is going through something, like, I want to help you out, or like in a way go through that, because you can't obviously do that, but doing stuff like that, I want to see how you handle stuff, how you do stuff, and then take the best parts from it, I guess, and apply it to my own ministry in the future. Yeah. That's what I'm looking for the most part throughout the summer. And I know a lot of guys at Faulkner, and most everybody that you hire is coming into the summer and they have stuff that they personally also need to work on. And so those first 2-3 weeks, really, really getting to know them personally, and getting to a spot where you can say, hey man, like, what do you feel like you're struggling with the most, that you need to work on the most? And let's work on it. Like, at the end of the summer, let's get through this, because that'll only make them better in the future.
Yeah. That's one of the things that I actually do with my interns. I just say, hey, of all of the things, like, you think you need a lot of work in all these different areas, but where's the one place that you want to see exponential growth this summer? And there was one intern that I had, and he was like, I'm just not comfortable speaking in front of people. And he was like, I want to get more comfortable doing it. And so, like, literally every week, me and the girl intern would just sit down and be like, all right, dude, come in. We're going to do a Devo. You're going to teach us a class right now. He's like, I don't have anything prepared. Too bad, dude. Just tell me about your Bible study. Yeah. What is something that you've learned, or listened to a podcast, or heard a sermon, and he would be like, man, I don't know. And then I just make him get up in front of us and talk.
Yeah, get good, dude.
And it was like 5 minutes that it took, you know.
I'm going to brag on Jeremy for a minute because I love what Jeremy does at the end of the summer. And since I can brag on him since he's not there. Oh, it might be Michael's idea. But the whole idea of...
It is Michael's idea.
It's 100% my idea.
Either way, they both do it.
It is. Hey, I'm giving you credit. Credit where credit's due.
They both do it, and it's fantastic because it's making them actually apply the things that they learned over the summer. And that's where they go in, and I believe y'all allow the interns to make a end of summer event of some sort. So y'all talk about that a little bit and kind of the freedom you allow them to have.
Yeah, that was an idea that I came up with.
That's my idea. I'll go ahead and start. No, go ahead, Michael.
I came up with that idea one summer because there was a kid who during the summer I was like, this kid is ready. Like he could start tomorrow and be a youth minister. And I asked him like, what's keeping you from just doing youth ministry right now? Like working at a church right now and doing this? And he was like, well, I've just never really planned anything before. And I was like, well, that's easy, you know? And so I just let him do it, and he killed it, you know? I told him, hey, here's your budget. We had a guy that would donate some money in the middle of the summer just to kind of offset, you know, the budget and stuff. And that year we had about $1,000 that was just, hey, we have $1,000, you know? And I said, hey, you've got $1,000, and you can do anything that you want to do. But just know you don't need to charge our students more than like $30 each. And if you need to, you can, but that's going to make your numbers smaller. And I kind of talked him through that. And I was like, so here's what you got. And it's all yours. If you have any questions, I was like, I'll answer questions about can I spend this much money, or what buses can we use, and who are bus drivers that I can have. But outside of that, I'm out. You plan it out and you do it. And he did. And it was awesome. They did, just him and the girl intern, they came up with an idea. They budgeted out. They sent me all the stuff. I gave that stuff to my elders. They, you know, signed off on it, said that looks great. And we had an incredible trip. And I was like, I will be doing this from now on. As long as I'm doing youth ministry, this is what I'm going to do. And I shared that idea with Jeremy. And then Jeremy made some changes to it and did it his way too. So tell us a little bit about the way that you do it, Jeremy.
So what we've done is I give them a set, like you said, a set line item. You know, hey, here's how much you have to budget. Here's how many students we probably to attend. So, you know, obviously you got to do the math, divide that out. Here's how much you can spend per kid, right? And so I pretty much tell them on the front end, and when we're interviewing, this is something they see on our summer plans. And I kind of highlight this in the interview process and say, hey, internship's a big deal. It's kind of your final exam for the summer, right? That's the way I think of it. Is you've been studying all summer of how to do youth ministry. Now it's time to take the final. And so what we do is do you do it as a secret, Michael? Like, is it a secret thing?
Yes.
The internship?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the way, I don't know if you said that. Sorry. We do it like a secret thing where the only people that know what the internship is myself and our two interns, our guy and a girl intern. And we plan everything. And I say, hey, listen, you're in charge of everything. Now I'll help you. I'm not going to let you bomb. Right. But all I'm going to promise is that I will drive the bus. Right. Yeah. I give them a set, you know, distance, proximity. This is how far I'm willing to drive you. This is what
you're the only one that can drive the bus.
Yeah. That's who's driving this bus? It's me always. But I say, hey, here's the parameters of how far you can go. And I want there to be a spiritual element to the trip. I want there to be a fun element to the trip, and I want it to be overnight, right? They're in charge of booking hotels. They're in charge of planning where we're going to eat. They're in charge of figuring out what the stops are, even the restroom stops. I know that seems so simplistic and stupid, but you all know when we plan a trip to CYC or to Winterfest or Uplift or
Buc-ee's.
Whatever, Exposure, whatever you go to Buc-ee's, you plan out where you're going to stop. Not because you necessarily have to hit Buc-ee's. You do have to hit Buc-ee's, but because you need to have a plan for it. Hey, the reality is people's bladders aren't going to hold more than about an hour and a half. You got to stop for pee somewhere, right? You got to stop for a drink. You know, kids get restless. They need to get out and move around. You got to account for those things and plan for those things. So I put it on their shoulders to plan all that. If they plan a 4-hour drive with no stops, I'm going to say, okay, let's reevaluate your plan, right?
Yeah.
The reality is you're going to have to pee too. Okay. Let's make a stop. But I want them to plan as much of the detail as possible. It's a cool idea that Michael came up with, and there's things that I've had the opportunity and blessing to teach Michael in youth ministry. This is one of those things that he has taught me, and it has blessed my ministry.
Well, you're welcome. I do what I can. It's like what Kyle Butt said. You weren't in here, so he was able to say that we're not just okay youth ministers.
He wants us to rebrand.
That he thinks that we should be, what was it, exceedingly excellent?
Yeah,
or
something
like that. So, but you weren't included in that. It was just me and Hunter. Yeah, that's right.
Hey, can I throw a question in here?
Yes.
No.
Okay. Here's a question. This is for Michael. Hunter, you don't matter because you haven't had interns. No, I'm just kidding.
True.
I want to pose this question. What is a question, Michael, and I'll answer as well, and Eli, I want you to answer. What's a question that you almost always ask during the interview? I know the interviewing congregation asks a lot of questions, right?
Yeah.
But I always, at the end of the interview, last 5-10 minutes, I say, what questions do you have for us, right? So let's start with Eli. What's something you always ask the congregation that you're interviewing with?
That's a good question.
Do you want to come back to you after Michael?
I mean, we can, but I always I grew up going to Indian Creek with my family, and my family kind of is the director over that week. So usually at some point I ask hey, am I going to get any time off to where I can go to that? Usually I ask something along those lines.
Great question.
That's a good question. Absolutely.
Do y'all ever have an issue with that? As far as youth ministers looking to hire somebody?
Sometimes we do.
As long as it doesn't line up with something big
right.
your
Like
week.
If we're going to Maywood, in my opinion, Maywood is extremely important for our interns to be at.
Yeah.
And if they say, I'm just not going to be able to go to Maywood, I basically just say, yeah, we're just not going to work out,
Yeah.
But
it's a pretty hard pass if you can't make it to our camp.
Yeah. But one of the question that I always ask is, I want to get a feel or I want to be prepared when that intern arrives. The question I always ask is, I say, are you somebody who is where I can just say, go do youth ministry, and you're comfortable enough to kind of come up with an agenda for that week and do it?
For that day, even.
Or just that day. Or do you need to have a little bit of a push, like, hey, here's a list of things that you can do. You can choose any of them at any point, and you can do those things this week. Or are you somebody who I say, hey, on Monday I need you to do this, Tuesday I need you to do this, Wednesday I need you to do this, Thursday, Friday. And I've had interns on every one of those spectrums.
Yes.
My favorite ones have been the ones where I can just say, hey, go do youth ministry, and they'll send me texts and updates throughout the week. And those are easy to manage. But if you're wanting to be specific in the way that they're doing things, you have to tell them specifically some things that you want them to do. My favorite way to do it is where I can give them ideas. Hey, y'all can go to this, y'all can go bowling, y'all can do this. Here's how much money you have for the week, and have at it, And I like being able to do that and give them an idea of some things that I expect from them. And then I've also had interns where I had to say, hey, on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, here's what we're doing on each one of those days, and kind of gave them a schedule and walked them through everything. And it really, the first interns that I had ever, I didn't know what kind of interns they were. I didn't know their level of how things were going. And so I was just left in the dark. And when they weren't just going and doing things like I expected them to, I got really frustrated and was like, why do y'all not just do things? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And they said, we don't know what to do. And so I was like,
upfront expectations. You got to know what you expect of each other, right? And they need to know what they're going to expect of you. As long as that's clear, you can work within the guidelines.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's the big question, is just, we've got to get our expectations of what we expect from them and what they expect from us. And I think that question really helps fix that problem.
Also, the expectations are a great way to think about what didn't go well, right? And you can say, okay, this didn't meet expectation, and that's okay, but let's talk about why it didn't. Or hey, you're really killing it here. You did great. You've exceeded this expectation, whatever. Yeah. Maybe we're going to put, kind of the, to one who's done something with little, we give more, right? But here's a question I always ask. I say, what's like a mountaintop worship experience for you? Tell me about a moment that you really loved, worship was. And I say, was it, some big youth ministry conference? Was it, at like, if you're at Freddie Hardman, at Clayton Chapel singing on Wednesday night? Was it in your car listening to a praise and worship song, driving down the road, down the interstate? Was it a moment where you had a deep conversation with someone and that was a moment of worship together? Whatever. What would be for you this mountaintop experience? And I'm asking that for a couple of reasons. One, I want teams that can get some excitement about worship. Or I want my interns to influence them in that way. I want them to have a heart for worship.
Yeah.
The other side of it is I need to know where this person's coming from. And just to say, as silly as it may sound, it kind of gives me a gauge of where they are with enthusiasm in worship, whether they're very expressive, what kind of things that they get excited about. What, as Steve, our preacher, says, what makes your heart beat faster? Right? What thing really gets you excited about your experience and your engagement with God?
Yeah, I love that question. I might start asking that question too. I think that's a really good, because that also kind of gives you an idea of their spiritual maturity.
Yes.
Another question that I ask almost every single time is just like, hey, what are some things that you're studying currently in your Bible study life?
Yeah.
That is making an impact on you, or that gets you excited, or that you want to talk about briefly. And that's also kind of gives you a gauge again. Are they studying on a regular basis? Because I've had interns that I even hired who were just like, man, I'll just be honest with you. Outside of my classes, I haven't read anything, and
it's tough.
I appreciate their honesty. I don't want them to make up something, know? And so, but I hired an intern that said that, it doesn't change. It just means that, hey, this guy was being honest, and I think maybe I can push him and show him the importance of studying your Bible on a regular basis.
It goes back to what Eli was talking about. Those first couple of weeks being so important of getting to know who that youth intern is and seeing where they can grow spiritually that summer, and then you discipling them, pushing them, being this this important person, this mentor in their life for that summer.
See, that's a huge thing for me. Like, guys, if you do nothing else throughout the rest of the summer but make someone better, then like that's the goal, right?
Yeah.
If your intern leaves and they are better spiritually than when they got there, that should be the most important thing. And I think that's something that kind of gets pushed down the bottom. Like, you want them to learn how to plan an event. You want them to do well in Bible classes. You want to shape their ministry. But first, sometimes like they get there and they're not in a spiritual place that is ready to even do all of that other stuff. Yeah. And you have to take that summer and really build themselves spiritually, to make sure that they're solid, so that next summer they can go out and say, all right, I'm good. Like, I'm whole. I'm ready to help other people. I'm ready to learn ministry. And sometimes you're going to have summers like that where you really need to focus on that summer of getting whole again.
I want to give a good shout out real quick. That just opens some of the resources that I've heard of. Luke Dockery, who is now, he's like the guy over the youth ministry stuff at Harding. He is awesome. He does stuff with the deeperyouthministry.com and everything. But he has this like internship, I don't know, packet maybe, that he gives to his interns when they intern with him. And it's incredible. I've read through all of the stuff. I was lucky enough to talk with one of the guys that interned with him, and he shared that with me. And his research and stuff on internships is incredible. And so if you're looking for resources on that, you can go to Deeper Youth Ministry and look up. He's got a couple books on there that are about it. He's got different resources on the website about it. That you can check out if you're wanting to get an intern, or you're wanting to present that to your eldership. Hey, we'd like to get an intern this summer. What would that look like? And here's some of the research that I've done to make sure that we have a successful internship program here.
One exciting news, I am getting ready to present an idea for us to get an intern for not this summer, next summer. And that'll mean that all of the churches in Decatur will have an intern. So that'd be pretty cool.
Oh, that would be cool, man.
I would definitely reach out to Luke.
Work as an internship,
yeah.
I would definitely reach out to Luke and get some more information about that, though.
Hey, so going back to what Michael asked, what are you reading? What are you doing? I do want to say it's okay if you're not the guy that's reading everything. I'm humbled every week by sitting in the room with Michael and Hunter, because it's like they just live and breathe reading. I'm not that guy, and I am encouraged by their goals in doing that, and I'm trying to grow and learn and study more in my own stuff because I'm impacted by that. but like Eli said, the end of the summer, man, when it ends, the summer internship out, you hope that this person has changed and grown in some way in a positive path. We had actually last summer, about the second week, one of our interns, she was just really evaluating things spiritually, where she's been and what she's grown in, and what she understood about baptism. And in the second or third week, our guy intern rebaptized our girl intern for the summer. It was kind of awesome, because she was like, "Is that okay? Do you think that's bad?" I said, "Look, what our students are going to see is that we've hired someone who is deeply evaluating their relationship with God, and they are serious about that. And if it means that they need to take a step in that direction, they're going to do it, right?"
Right.
And I thought that was cool. Let me throw another question that I always ask, and I say this. I say to whoever we're interviewing, I say, "Look, I don't know your youth minister. I don't know their situation. I'm not going to rat you out. I'm not calling them, okay? But what were they not good at? Like, what do you wish that your youth ministry experience growing up would have been better about?
I just wish I had a better youth minister.
Eli, don't answer that question.
My youth minister was the worst. I hated it.
Eli,
but I do. I ask that, and there's a reason I ask that. One, I need to know if they can evaluate and they can critique when things aren't good, right? I need to know that they can recognize that something didn't work well or something went poorly or whatever, right? And then the other side of it is I need to know how they do that, whether it's super critical or it's constructive. Because here's the reality. At some point, I'm going to stink at something that I do during the summer. I'm just going to blow it at some point. I know that I am. But I need to know that I've got an intern that's not going to go like trash me to everybody and belittle the work that I'm trying to do, but they're going to recognize the opportunity for growth, and they're going to see ways in which we can constructively grow from a mistake. Right? And so I ask that because I want to know that they can evaluate things that need to change and do that with grace. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And usually they'll tell me something, and sometimes they tell me something that I'm like, oh man, that's something we probably need to be better about at Coleman too. Part of it is I'm absolutely getting the cheat sheet from other youth ministries that have had a failure in some way.
Yeah. Well, I think, hey man, we're kind of, Eli, you got anything that you want to say? You want to talk about Faulkner a little bit?
Faulkner? It is awesome. Soar Eagles go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I hope.
Hey, Michael.
Yeah.
Before we dismiss everything real quick, I do want to mention one thing is on-ramping. You mentioned getting a kid, to come to an activity or a trip. On-ramping your interns and helping them know what's coming, what to expect, getting them communication of like bulletins before the summer, anything that you can do to on-ramp them so that when they hit the ground running, they're not blind to what's happening. They're prepared and they're ready. That really matters.
Yeah.
And then you already talked about the end, kind of doing an exit interview and talking about, hey, what didn't work this summer? What could have been better? How can we improve our process for next year for future interns or whatever? But that on-ramping process is something that I've neglected at times that I intend to be better at this summer and going forward in future summers.
That is one thing. If you are listening to this podcast and you're not in youth ministry and you're also like me and you're like in college, you're looking to go into it, you've gained a lot from it because obviously I have. Like, I love these guys. They do really good. Whether you know a lot about what you're getting into or not, just run in there and hang out with them as much as you possibly can. The best reviews that I've gotten from ministers who've had interns, so this is talking about a minister said, hey, this intern did really good, was the intern that was around them all the time. Because the thing is, if you give them this checklist and you complete this checklist and go home and just hang out at the house or wherever it is, then you're not really gaining a lot. Whereas if you go in the office and hang out with them every time the door's open and you're just around them all the time, whether you know a lot about what you're getting into or not, you're going to do good.
Right.
And you're going to grow a lot from it. So that's one thing I would say, like, whether you know what you're getting into or not, just be there, be present, spend as much time with the minister as you possibly can.
Yeah. Well, we really hope that this discussion has helped out those of you that are looking at getting interns or those of you that already have. Hopefully this gave you some insight and some ideas about internships and even people that are looking for internships. I know a large portion of our listeners are college students, Eli being one of them. And I know this is a big deal for them, because I remember how big of a deal it was for me when I was looking for internships and knowing which one to pick from. And, I know Eli has definitely gotten offers from many different churches and how to choose between which ones he's going to work at and work with. And I know I did when I was in college, and Hunter and Jeremy too, and finding the right place to go, and I hope that this conversation has helped you be better at choosing which one you believe you'd work with best or fit in best with. And well, thank y'all so much for listening. Thank y'all for paying attention, following up with all of our episodes. Like and subscribe and comment and rate us and review us and stuff. That helps the little algorithm and stuff to get our show out there for more listeners. We're very thankful for our listeners. We've got some more exciting things coming up on our website, so check that out, oksyouthministry.com. And
we'll be at Lads Leaders in a few weeks.
Yeah, we'll be at Lads Leaders in a few weeks.
If you're at the Nashville convention.
Well, I won't be at the Lads Leaders in Nashville.
No. You will be. It just won't be you personally.
Yeah, I'll probably call in.
We have some things up our sleeve for you.
Stand up.
Yeah, I would love that so much.
Eli, dude, we love you, man. We're super proud of you.
Love you, Jeremy.
And
wish you were
appreciate
here.
Taking the time for coming in.
Yeah, and I'm really proud of you, man. And thanks for being here. All right. Well, if we don't have anything else, are we good?
We're good.
All right. Well, thank y'all so much for listening. We're praying for you. We hope everything's going good for you. And most of all, we hope that your ministry is blessed.
Thanks for joining us today in the important conversation of youth ministry. Go and follow us on Instagram and check out oksyouthministry.com for more information about our upcoming episodes. We'll be dropping a new episode every Wednesday morning, and we look forward to talking with you again next week. And hey, it's okay to be the OKS youth minister around, but let's all strive to be just a little bit better.